Have you ever stopped to wonder if there's a hidden biological operating system running right beneath the surface of your everyday life? Well, there is. It's an invisible network that is quietly shaping your reality, your ability to recover from stress, and ultimately, your long-term health. To uncover exactly how this system works, we're going to dive into a pretty surprising digital phenomenon in this explainer. We're going to see how a seemingly bizarre internet trend is actually unlocking profound truths about the deeply interconnected nature of human biology. So here is the central question we really have to answer today. Every single night, millions of adults are pulling out their phones, plugging in their headphones, and listening to internet audio of people whispering, maybe folding towels, or just gently tapping on glass. And they're doing this to self-medicate for severe sleep issues and anxiety. Just think about that for a second. How on earth can a simple sound coming from a screen physically downregulate a highly stressed human nervous system? To figure that out, we have to start with a fascinating clinical paradox. Take a look at this insight from Dr. Susan Albers. Notice her use of the word paradoxical. When people experience this phenomenon, their physical body drops into a state of deep relaxation. Literally, their heart rate drops down. But simultaneously, their brain exhibits emotional arousal and intense, focused excitement. So they're deeply relaxed physically, but highly engaged mentally. It's a complete biological contradiction. To make sense of this paradox, we need to quickly define what's actually going on. We are talking about ASMR, or Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. It is a cross-modal, completely spontaneous physical sensation. Usually, it starts as this sort of static-like tingle right at the crown of the head, and then it just washes down the spine. It's triggered by very specific acoustic or visual cues. The key here is that this isn't just a mood or a mental state. It is a profound physical sensation. So what is literally rewiring inside the brain to create this feeling? Section 1. Rewiring the default mode. To find out what's happening, we have to look directly inside the skull. Functional MRI scans have revealed a stunning neurological blueprint. Everything starts with your default mode network, or the DMN. You know that state when you're just staring out the window, daydreaming, or maybe stuck in a loop of anxious thoughts? That's your DMN at work. Well, neural imaging shows that people who are sensitive to ASMR have highly atypical functional connectivity in this network when they're at rest. Basically, their brains are blending multiple resting state networks together. They are biologically wired to take a simple external sound and translate it into an intense internal physical sensation. Let's move to the next layer and see what happens when an actual trigger is introduced. When a sensitive person hears a soft whisper, their medial prefrontal cortex immediately lights up. This is the part of your brain responsible for evaluating intimate, self-relevant social situations. And crucially, this area is a primary binding site for oxytocin. That's the hormone responsible for feelings of deep safety, warmth, and human connection. A simple acoustic wave is literally triggering the biology of intimacy. Concurrently, that neural signal travels straight to the nucleus accumbens, and this brilliantly explains why the sensation feels so incredibly good. The nucleus accumbens is your brain's reward center. When it activates, it floods your entire nervous system with dopamine. So now you have this potent combination of oxytocin and dopamine, transforming a simple tapping sound into a highly rewarding, deeply soothing neurochemical bath. Finally, the insula engages, generating powerful feelings of empathy. But honestly, here is the absolute most fascinating part about this whole brain map. EEG recordings show that the brain's alpha waves, the ones that indicate passive, disengaged, resting, actually drop, and instead, theta waves completely surge. The brain is mimicking a state of deep, active meditation. This proves that ASMR is not some passive sedation. It's an active, intensely focused state of neuro-emotional absorption. Section 2. The evolutionary grooming hypothesis. So, why does the human brain react this way to someone simply whispering into a camera? The truth is, this isn't some modern digital quirk. We are accidentally hijacking an incredibly ancient evolutionary mechanism. If we trace this lineage back over 30 million years, primates used mutual physical grooming to build social bonds, lower community tension, and signal safety. And that grooming released a cascade of euphoric neurochemicals. Fast forward to today, and we are using digital triggers to simulate that exact same evolutionary pathway. Soft whispers and close personal attention are tricking the modern brain into feeling that ancient, deeply ingrained sense of primate safety. And that ancient circuitry perfectly explains why certain acoustic triggers work so well. Think about whispering, personal attention, gentle tapping. What do they have in common? They are all low-frequency, highly proximate, intimate sounds. They simulate closeness. In fact, this is exactly why adding background music to these videos completely ruins the effect. Music breaks the illusion of that intimate, one-on-one evolutionary grooming. For the biological spell to work, it requires a solitary, focused acoustic focal point. Section 3, the misophonia sensory spectrum. Now, biology is always a delicate balance, right? So what happens when this highly tuned sensory processing system goes a little haywire? Well, ASMR doesn't actually exist in isolation. It shares a neurological spectrum with a condition called misophonia. That's where soft, repetitive human sounds like chewing or lip smacking trigger intense rage and a massive fight-or-flight sympathetic response. Astonishingly, nearly half of misophonic individuals also experience ASMR. They share the exact same acoustic triggers, but depending on the context, their atypical brain wiring routes that sound through entirely opposing nervous system pathways. One path leads to joy and a dropped heart rate. The other leads to absolute terror and a racing heart. So who exactly possesses this type of highly sensitive neural wiring? Large-scale personality inventories show a really specific profile. People who experience ASMR score exceptionally high in openness to experience, but they also score high in neuroticism, meaning they're highly predisposed to anxiety and mood swings. It's a profound, almost counterintuitive truth. The very individuals whose nervous systems are most prone to anxiety and being overwhelmed by their environment are actually biologically equipped with a built-in sensory mechanism to powerfully downregulate their own physiological arousal. Section 4, subconscious sleep and recovery. Now that we understand the deep neurological and evolutionary roots, we really have to look at the practical, real-world implications of this. How does this highly sensitive state alter our foundational pillar of health, our sleep? Well, 82%. That is a massive number. A staggering 82% of ASMR users utilize these triggers primarily to fall asleep. They are instinctively self-administering a digital therapeutic to calm their racing minds. But for a long time, scientists had to wonder, is this just a placebo effect? Do you actually have to physically feel those tingles for to alter your biology? The answer absolutely shocked researchers. A 2024 clinical trial by Wu and colleagues finally gave us the answer. They took a group of highly stressed high school students suffering from sleep issues who were completely naive to ASMR. They had literally never felt the physical tingle in their entire lives. Yet, over 5 days of a pre-sleep audio intervention, their time to fall asleep dropped significantly, and they gained nearly a full hour of effective sleep. But here is the massive revelation. They never felt a single tingle, not one. You do not need conscious paresthesia to benefit from this. Low-frequency acoustic rhythms are subconsciously triggering the parasympathetic nervous system, altering your biology entirely beneath the level of your own awareness. Now, you might be wondering, how does this compare to just playing white noise all night? Look at the dichotomy here. White noise is passive masking. It's designed to just fade into the background. But continuous broadband noise at 50 decibels has actually been clinically shown to reduce critical REM sleep by up to 19 minutes a night. ASMR, on the other hand, is active attention. It actively holds your brain's focus, which silences those anxious rumination loops in the default mode network. But because it's so active, clinical protocols say you absolutely must use a sleep timer to shut it off after 60 to 90 minutes. You use the sound to rapidly downregulate your nervous system into sleep, and then you need to return to silence to protect the deep, restorative architecture of your late-stage REM sleep. Section 5, the interconnected nervous system. Let's pull all of this together and zoom out to the macro view. What does the science of someone whispering into a microphone on the internet actually teach us about the human body? It reveals the absolute beautiful interconnectedness of our biology. Look at this biological cascade. A tiny acoustic wave enters the ear. It gets processed by a uniquely wired default mode network, which then triggers a flood of ancient evolutionary neurochemicals. Oxytocin and dopamine shift the entire body into a parasympathetic recovery state. Your heart rate slows down, your anxious rumination is silenced, and your body initiates deep sleep. And that deep sleep, in turn, regulates systemic inflammation and dictates your cognitive longevity. Every single step is inextricably linked to the next. And this brings us to the overarching realization of our analysis today. Health isn't just a collection of separate, isolated habits that you force yourself to do. It is the emergent result of deeply interconnected biological processes happening every single moment. The tiny sensory inputs you expose yourself to, even something as simple as the sounds you listen to right before you close your eyes, dictate your nervous system state. That state dictates your cellular recovery, your information, and your emotional resilience. Small, invisible daily behaviors are actively shaping decades of your healthy aging. Which leaves us with this final crucial thought. We have just seen how a completely invisible, highly specific sound can literally hijack millions of years of primate evolution to rewire a stressed human brain for profound recovery. It really makes you wonder, if a simple whisper holds that much biological power, what other invisible forces in your environment are quietly shaping the trajectory of your health and the quality of your life right now? Keep questioning, keep learning, and start paying attention to the hidden systems running your biology.